It may or may not be related to age, but if you've ever been married, you've probably been accused of selective hearing. I know I have. There's also a possibility that you may be guilty, as I have been. I think selective hearing goes along with probably not paying close enough of attention, and I'm guilty of that too, I'm afraid. However, having said that, it is possible to have selective hearing and age-related hearing loss as well. And here, that's what we're here to talk about, age-related hearing loss. I'm 75 and I've never had the greatest hearing to begin with. I had some high-frequency hearing loss early on that I've carried around, and that's kind of added to, or I should say the age-related hearing loss is added to the high-frequency hearing loss that I've already had. So I've got kind of a double-edged sword here. I'm getting it coming and going both. My high-frequency hearing loss means I have to crank the treble up when I'm listening to music. Otherwise, it's all bass, and I'm not a big bass fan. My biggest issue with hearing loss is in social situations, groups, and particularly like in restaurants or parties or something like that. I miss an awful lot of the conversation. Have been missing the conversation, parts of the conversation, or only picking up parts of it. It makes it difficult to participate. If you have hearing loss, I'm sure you could relate to that situation. I've kind of resigned myself to the fact that when I'm in a social situation like that, I'm probably not going to be participating a lot in the conversation, the general conversation. If it's at a table setting, I'm lost entirely. I might be able to hear the person right next to me, especially if they're on the left side, my good ear side. If they're on my right side at a table, chances are I'm not going to hear them. So I kind of resign myself to the fact that that's the case, and I listen the best I can and pick up what I can, and I'm mostly quiet. A few years ago, the insurance company that I had came with a program that included partial payment on hearing aids. They would pay half and you'd pay half and you'd get hearing aids, and I got some. These guys here, you probably, I don't know if that's focusing or not. Fairly common type of hearing aid these days. Programmable, you can reduce the noise, turn up the frequencies and all that business. I wore them for a little while, but the difference that they made for me was not worth the hassle they were of having to have them in and turning them up and down and turning them off when I had to. And they didn't help much in crowded situations, at least in my case. They help some people, obviously, but in my case, in a party or a group situation, they didn't help at all. So they don't get much use these days. I don't know about you, but it can be pretty frustrating at times not being able to hear well. Especially if you're at a store or something like that and a sales clerk is trying to explain something to you, or a cashier or a waitress or a waiter or something like that, and you're having trouble hearing them. It's frustrating. It's frustrating for the person that can't hear as well as the person that's trying to talk and be heard. It's kind of a frustrating situation for everybody, actually. The tendency, at least for me, is to, if it's not something I need to respond to, well, you don't know if it's something you need to respond to sometimes. So smiling and nodding usually works, but sometimes you get yourself in a bind too. Had a friend at the Harley dealership a few years ago, a good friend. We were kind of on the same wavelength, you could say. And we would talk, and every once in a while he would say, "You didn't hear what I said, did you?" And I had to admit, no, I didn't. So he could tell when I was picking up what he was saying and when I wasn't. That's a good friend. I also have friends who have a habitual issue. You'd say something to them, and the first thing out of their mouth is "what?" or "huh?" And you have to repeat everything. Sometimes I think that's one of those paying attention deals. I've learned with certain friends that what I need to do is first get their attention hey, Joe. And when they give you their attention, then talk to them, and they can hear just fine. So I think the paying attention is a big issue. It's an issue for me, and it's an issue for them as well. I had something come across my Facebook feed, might have been YouTube. What are the 10 things that people with hearing loss wish other people knew? And I agree with some of them, and I question some of them. But let's go through them, see what you think. Number 1 is get my attention so I can focus on you. Please speak one at a time. Well, that's asking a lot if you're in a group situation, to my way of thinking. We already talked about the attention thing, and I think that's important. But the list is asking other people to get your attention. You know, I think we've all been in the situation where somebody says something to you and you miss the first part of what they're saying. That's a case where getting our attention, us being our people with hearing loss, getting our attention first and then asking your question or saying what you have to say would be helpful. So there's some validity to that one, I guess. The second one is give me quiet. Off the TV, music, fan, and a quieter booth in a restaurant. Again, I think you're kind of asking a lot of people. If they want to talk to you, they have to turn the TV down or turn the fan off. I don't know. It would be nice if everybody could comply with all of these 10, but it's not likely. Yeah, if it's quieter, I hear better. Absolutely, no question. Number 3 is hearing loss is tiring. It takes all my energy to fill in the blanks of missing sounds. I don't know if tiring is the right word there. It does take some effort to sometimes to try and figure out what people are saying when you don't catch every word. I think I've gotten pretty good at that, actually. I can fill in blanks and figure things out. Every once in a while, something will make absolutely no sense to me whatsoever, and you may have been in that situation too. Somebody will say something, and what you think you heard makes absolutely no sense. I usually take a second and try and figure it out, see if what I missed or what I misheard, and sometimes I can't. And I said, would you mind repeating that? And they'll repeat it, and we'll kind of get a laugh at it. This happens with Kathy quite a bit. She'll repeat what she said, and then I'll tell her what I thought she said, and we get a good laugh about it. So, you know, keeping your sense of humor about it is a big benefit. If you can keep your sense of humor about it, you're a step up on most people. Number 4, I am not rude or stupid. I'm trying. Please repeat and then let me speak. I guess. I think probably we were talking about the social situations before. I think for me, in a social situation like that, I'm more, not concerned, I'm not worried about it, but my sense is that people might think I'm aloof, which I'm not, I don't think. I guess that's not really not for me to say. But no, I'm not aloof. Number 5 is be kind to me. When you get frustrated, I would rather opt out and be alone. There are those times, yeah, when you're having trouble hearing something and it's so much effort to participate that it's easier just to walk away. If you can do that without being rude, like the previous one, you know, okay. If you can do it tactfully, maybe that's the option. Number 6 is speak clearly and slowly. Give my brain some time to process your speech. That kind of goes along with filling in the blanks, figuring out what was said based on what you heard. Number 7 is repeat and rephrase. I will miss some. Please repeat, rephrase, or spell it out. And I think you have to, if that happens, you have to ask somebody to repeat. And, you know, that's part of what we're talking about. You know, it's frustrating to have to ask for people to repeat things, and it's frustrating for people to have to repeat things. It's kind of a no-win. Number 8, face me when you speak. Lip reading helps me connect the dots when I can't hear you clearly. That's a biggie for me. I like to face people when they're speaking to me, and sometimes you can tell by expression, facial expressions. I don't consciously lip read. You know, sometimes you might do it subconsciously, but I can't lip read consciously to look at somebody's mouth and tell what they're saying. You know, like I say, it might be a subconscious thing, but I can't take credit for it. And number 9 is hearing aids are not glasses. Sounds are louder, but not 100% clear in noisy environments. That's what I was saying earlier about hearing aids in group situations, restaurants and things like that. To me, it made it sound worse. And number 10 is give me context. And I think we do that. That goes in with filling in the blanks too. Sometimes you can fill in the blanks by knowing what the conversation's about. That's legitimate. I don't think that's up to the speaker though. I think that's up to us to try and figure out what was said by the context of the conversation. I think that goes on to the person with the hearing loss. At least I take responsibility for that. I don't expect somebody else to do all this work, all these 10 things here. And some of those fall to us with hearing loss. So I'm curious what you thought about the 10 and what you would add if you have hearing loss, what you would like people to know when they're communicating with you or about it. So, you know, drop it down in the comments if you want. Be interesting to see how other people deal with hearing loss situations. I'd be interested to hear what your frustrations might be. Frustration seems to be a hot topic when you're talking about hearing loss on our side and the other side, I'm sure. I was going to say I'm not often on the other side, but I have friends that are more hard of hearing than I am. I have one friend that's very hard of hearing, but I know that, and I know what that's like from his side. So we get along just fine. I know that I'm going to be repeating things, and I know that I'm going to say things that he's not going to hear. Well, I can kind of tell when he's grasping what I'm saying and when he's not. So we communicate okay. But it would be interesting to hear your thoughts on this top 10 list. Give me number 11. And I have one final question for your consideration. Are we really experiencing age-related hearing loss, or do we just care less what other people are saying? Peace and joy. I said peace and joy.